Anybody ever watch drag racing, NHRA, IHRA? We get to work with those guys as volunteer chaplain. Sometimes it's electrifying. Isn't that amazing? And most of the time it's loud. If you ever go to the races, you know there's a couple of things. There's two things you need. Earplugs. If you don't have earplugs, you'll regret it if you can hear later. I got involved in the world of racing back in 2000. I'm full-time now, 19 years doing comedy, music, and drama around the country, using comedy and music to entertain people and then tell people about the Lord. That's kind of what I've been called to do in some strange ways. Just a few years ago, got involved in the Christian Country Music Association in Nashville. And then in 07, 08, and 09, won Comedian of the Year in Nashville with Christian Country Music Association. Just this year, got involved in the Country Gospel Music Association in Pigeon Forge and won Comedian of the Year there. So we get to do some strange things all around the country. And my philosophy is, I believe that we're meant to have a good time. And the Lord wants us to have a good time. And He wants us to have a good time that we can remember later. And so we get to work with a lot of people in racing. And as I mentioned earlier, the Harvey Tater character, we get to do a lot of comedy shows with the Nascar and NHRA drag race and IHRA drag race, prison shows with Chuck Colson, church services all over the country. And a lot of people ask me, they say, well, what about Dale Earnhardt? I was there when he was killed. Matter of fact, I was with Childress when he was killed, but the weekend he was killed, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, doing a prison campaign with Chuck Colson, so I had to fly back and be with the team. And people were in shock that Dale Earnhardt was killed. And let me ask you a question. Anybody here see the footage of where his wreck, where he lost his life? Anybody see that? They replayed it several times on TV where he just kind of slid at an angle into the wall. And didn't you think that wreck was kind of pale in comparison to some of the wrecks? You know, some of those cars, man, they're airborne and flipping, and those guys get out and walk away. Well, on that day, he just kind of slid at an angle into the wall and was killed. And people to this day, some people won't even watch NASCAR because he was their hero. And so why would that be? You know, and one of the things I say is, well, he finished strong. He didn't start too well because he came from pretty meager beginnings, didn't have a lot of money. But you know, the message I want to share with you, to take home with you tonight, it's not how we start, it's how we finish. Let me tell you how he finished. Back in several years ago, his daughter was 7 or 8 years old. She's going to children's chapel. We have the races. We have children's chaplains. And so his daughter, 7 or 8 years old, she comes home singing songs about Jesus and heaven and church and this. So Dale Earnhardt goes to Dale Beaver, the children's chaplain, and said, "Preacher, my daughter's singing all these songs in church. She learned Jesus and heaven, driving us crazy with these songs. I want to know, preacher, what are you teaching my daughter?" Now, they called him the Intimidator. Man in black, 7-time champion. "What are you teaching my daughter, preacher?" Well, Dale Beaver, the chaplain, said, "Well, sir, we teach the children that Jesus is the Son of God. And we teach the children that Jesus rose from the grave. And matter of fact, Mr. Earnhardt, Jesus said, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life.' Matter of fact, Mr. Earnhardt, Jesus said, 'No man cometh to the Father but by me.'" And he explained the gospel to Dale Earnhardt. Well, Dale Earnhardt's response was, "Well, I guess what I need to do is get to know the same Jesus my daughter's singing about." And he accepted the Lord. He led him to the Lord. He came the same way we all can come, and that's by the gospel being presented to us. We accepted the fact that Jesus Christ was God's plan. He sent to earth, and He lived that sinless life, laid that life down so that we could go to heaven. It's not God's will, we perish. It's not God's will, we go to hell. That was God's plan. He so loved the world, He gave His Son. Isn't that amazing? And so Dale Earnhardt proved that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Let me ask you this. Anybody ever heard of Elvis Presley? King of pop, no, king of rock. I mean, he had this great career, broke all kind of records as an entertainer, very successful entertainer. But you know, when he died, a lot of confusion around his death. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. You know what the first commandment is? "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." That's God's first commandment. Could we stop that pulse, whatever that is? It's in your tracks, I believe, the CD tracks. Okay, we'll go on. I'll just talk in rhythm to this speeding up. But the first commandment, isn't that amazing? Did you know that the first commandment is, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me"? That's amazing that God would start off by saying, I want to be your God. I want to be your provider. I want to give you whatever that you need. I want to supply Thou shalt have no other gods before me. You know, and the saying is true. It's not how we start. It's how we finish. How about Michael Jackson? Anybody, you young people remember Michael Jackson? The moonwalk and all of that? Great career. Child prodigy. 10 years old, man. He was blowing people away with his singing and dancing. His whole life was a fabulous entertainer. But how he died was a lot of confusion around his death. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. How about Anna Nicole Smith? Anybody remember Anna Nicole Smith? Movie star, whatever her career was. She gained a lot of popularity and lived this great life of wealth and luxury. But when she died, a lot of confusion around her death. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. You know, they call Michael Jackson the king of pop. They called Elvis the king of rock. There's only one king, and that's Jesus Christ, the King of kings and Lord of lords. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. How about Arnold Schwarzenegger? Anybody remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? Now, he's living. All of these other guys have died. You know, Arnold was a bodybuilder. He was like a god. Everybody thought, man, if I could just look like Arnold, if I could just be like him and have what he has. Well, have you read the papers lately? Have you heard the news lately? His story has changed quite a bit, hasn't it? It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. How about a guy named Tiger Woods? Anybody ever heard of Tiger Woods? Unbelievable golf pro. Set all kind of records. Man, and you know, he's just amazing. Everybody would say, man, if I could just play like Tiger, if I could have the swing like Tiger, if I could be and do and have what? Have you read the papers lately? Have you listened to the news? His story's quite changed, hasn't it? It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. How about a guy named Prince? Some of you young people know Prince, the entertainer. Lived a great life, had a great bunch of success. You know, and when you hear him talk about music and career and God, he talks about God, but he also talks about sex in the same breath. Very confusing. I wonder how his story will play out. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. How about this new phenomenon named Lady Blah Blah or Lady Goo Goo or Lady Doobie Doo Doo Doo? I don't know. She's a strange bird. Great entertainer, dancer, singer. Oh, just great. But you know, she's got this incredible story when you watch her entertain, but when she's talking, she's a very confused young woman. You know, I'm wondering, sometimes the devil gets people blinded and they sell out everything so that they can have all this fame and fortune. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. The first commandment says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Let me ask you and me, what is your God? If somebody came up to you and said, hey, what is your name? You know, that's kind of used. If somebody, now, what's your name? But what if they came up and said, now, what's your God? Let's see, what is your God? Is it your money? Is it your position? Is it what you have? Your car? Is it your position? You want to be famous and rich and you want to have success, and that's fine, as long as it doesn't become a god. You know, a lot of people this day and age are going through a lot of stuff because the stuff they thought they was going to own now owns them. I think God is bringing a lot of us back to faith because that stuff is just stuff. God says, thou shalt have no other God before me. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Now, how will we finish? It's really up to us, isn't it? Every day of our lives, we have to make a choice. We get up and go, what will I do today? Will I go to work? Will I sleep? Am I going to go shopping? What am I going to wear today? What will I eat? Who will I hang with? You know, we make choices every day. And those everyday choices kind of help us shape how we'll finish. You ever gone through a cemetery and looked at all of these gravestones and headstones? I do that quite a bit because it's interesting. All of these people had a story to tell, and a lot of them finished well. A lot of them didn't finish well. You've been to funerals and you've seen situations in hospitals where people go through a lot of things. And see, it's not how we start. It's how we finish. Something happened to me about 5 years ago that changed the rest of my life. I was in Las Vegas doing a NASCAR race. I had just finished a Chaplains program, and I got a phone call from my wife. It's one of those phone calls you don't want to get, but you get those things in life. Life happens sometimes that we can't anticipate. Things happen in life that we can't see coming, but we have to deal with it, don't we? Well, this happened to me, and I wrote a song about it for my family, and I believe this song is for somebody tonight. Why did you have to leave so suddenly? Why did you have to go that way? I got the call while I was in Vegas. To get back home it took 2 days. Some say the fire started in the sheetrock as you slept in your easy chair. I would have awakened you if I could have. You'd still be here if I'd been there. Oh, Daddy, how I miss you. But your words are ringing in my ear. Do the best you can, but don't try to be perfect, and don't give in to your fear. Oh, Daddy, how I miss you. Someday soon I won't have to wait. Soon as I get to heaven and see Jesus, I'll see you waiting at the gate. Last time we talked it was a Saturday morning. Not many time before it was early in the day. Started out a typical conversation. Now I forever cherish what you had to say. Oh, Daddy, how I miss you. But your words are ringing in my ear. Do the best you can, but don't try to be perfect, and don't give in to your fear. Oh, Daddy, how I miss you. But your words are ringing in my ear. Do the best you can, but don't try to be perfect, and don't give in to your fear. Oh, Daddy, how I miss you. But someday soon I won't have to wait. Soon as I get to heaven and see Jesus, I'll see you waiting at the gate. Thank you so much. It was one of those things in life that you're not prepared for, but you know, life is full of things that we're not ready for. Things happen that we're not even prepared for mentally, emotionally, financially, physically. Sometimes people get reports that they're going to lose their job. Some of you may have had situations where you've had car accidents or a bad medical report. Things happen, And have you ever wondered, why are these happening to me? Why is the Lord allowing this to happen to me? And there's a simple answer to that question, regardless what you're facing. The answer is when God allows something to happen to you, He's loving you to say, listen, I want to fix that for you. You come to me. You bring that to me. You talk to me. You cry to me. And then let me into your life so I can go through this with you. God doesn't want us to go through stuff alone. He sent His Son so that we would not have to be alone. One of the worst things in the world is to be alone. Isn't it amazing how sometimes we can be in a crowd of people and still feel alone? Isn't that amazing? God wants to fill that void. Only God can fill that void. And then when we let Him have first place in our lives, He has promised us joy and peace and comfort and a lot of things that we try to buy. And so if we just simply believe and say, I'm going to completely believe the Lord because there's no one else I really can believe. And so once we decide to do that, something supernatural happens. Something spiritual happens from the inside out. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, in every way, God becomes God in our lives. And as I live my life and go around the country traveling now for almost 20 years, I'm learning more and more that the Lord wants to be in control of every area of my life. He wants to be in control of me. He wants to be in control of me and my wife. He wants to be in control of me and my kids. He wants to be in control of me and my money so that I will have peace, so that when situations happen, I can just say, I'm going to roll that over on the Lord. And it's a simple trust, just like a child, like this child in this young lady's lap. The child is totally dependent on her. That's a great picture of us. God wants us to be so dependent on Him that we would bring to Him whatever concerns us. He said in His Word, He would perfect those things that concern us. And He's not a man that would lie. One of these days when God's finished with me here, I'm going to go to heaven. I've already made my appointment. I've already done the reservation. I've already done the paperwork. I've already signed it in red, in blood, I believe, in the blood of Jesus Christ. And so I used to wonder, well, Lord, when I get to heaven, I wonder what I'll do then when you're finished with me here. And so I wrote a song about it, about when He's done with me, what will I do then? Here we go. Ever wonder where your soul will go after your body been laid so low? Your soul lives on in eternity, but you can choose now where it will be. As for me, I don't feel the fire, 'cause I've been singing in a glorious choir. I'm getting ready to travel to a land. I'm gonna go to heaven, man. No, all I do what God's done with me. I sit right down upon His knee, and I won't worry about a thing. We'll even have a laugh about the big thing. All I do what God's done with me. I like to sing and fly from tree to tree. I might take a swim in the river of life. Finally be done with this earthly strife. That's what I'll do when God's done with me. And a fighting and fretting down here, worrying and crying and living in fear. Just think about the bug that hits your windshield. What would he say? Now what would he feel? I think I know, I think I understand. He don't have enough guts to do that again. But as for me, I'm gonna leave this place. I'm gonna get out of this old rat race. So all I do, God's done with me. I sit right down upon His knee, and I won't worry about a thing. We'll even have a laugh about the big bang. Oh, all I do, God's done with me. I might sing and fly from tree to tree. I might take a swim in the river of life. I'll finally be done with this earthly strife. That's what I'll do when God's done with me. a laugh about the Big Bang. Oh, what'll I do when God's done with me? I might sing and fly from tree to tree. I might take a swim in the river of life. We'll finally be done with this earthless life. That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. God's done with me. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. Well, I want to say thank you again for coming and hanging and staying with us. I know Helfers Baptist, they have a program here, I think, every week, is that right, throughout the summer? And I thank them for letting me be a part. I have CDs and DVDs and all kind of programs that we're doing live shows in Nashville, Pigeon Forge, Branson, all kind of places around the country. I love to talk with you. God bless you. Thank you so much.